Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ike and Sharon Miller, and
Hi guys.
welcome to Miller Time. Tonight we are the green team.
Oh, we didn't plan
We're
that.
all green. So we're excited to do one more video tonight. This will be the last one that we do before the holidays get here. Just felt like now is a good time to kind of end this series of videos, as I know you guys will be heading home soon. I know you got a bunch of exams coming up, and so you're going to be really busy. So we wanted to do one more video, tonight's video on going home as a college student, especially if it's your first time going home after being gone for your first semester. It's going to be weird. Just acknowledge it. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird for you. It's going to be weird for your parents.
It might not be that weird.
Well, you know, it's going to be weird because you're used to staying out as late as you want, as long as you want, hanging out with whoever you want, whenever you want, playing by your own rules, and then all of a sudden you're going home and you've got to figure out, okay, is it back to high school rules? Is it, are we going to play by my new rules? Am I going to sort of force my new rules on my parents? And so figuring all of that out. And so it's just going to be a challenging transition back home. And so we wanted to offer some wisdom and insight to you guys as you make that transition for the first time. So to jump in and just get started on that, the first thing I feel like we have to talk about is expectations. All right, and so for some of you, you're going to go into it with certain expectations, and the biggest conflict, the place that the biggest conflict comes from is when your expectations for what it's going to be like when you come home and what your parents' expectations are for when you come home. That's where the conflict's going to happen, because you're going to have certain expectations about what your curfew is. You know, you're an adult now, you're out of the house now, you should be able to do whatever you want. Your parents are going to be thinking, you're back under my house, you're back, you know, under my roof, you're going to be playing by my rules, I need to know where you're at, you know, that kind of thing. And so a big part of this is engaging your parents with honest conversation. If you feel like you can have that kind of conversation with your parents, where you can have an honest dialogue about what your expectations are coming home. And I think, honestly, I think it would be great. I think your parents would really respect it if you asked them what their expectations were. I think they would be appreciative of that. I think they might be more open to conversation around what things should be like when you come home, if you just have that open, honest conversation. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Nope.
No, okay. I must have said it all when it comes to expectations. So seriously, expectations is a really big part of this, and so I encourage you to have a conversation with your parents about expectations. I think it's important to talk about expectations around what they expect for you to do when you're home. They may expect you to be, you know, continue doing your own laundry like you've been doing and gotten used to, or doing some of your own meals, or cleaning up after yourself now that you've been living out of the house for a little while. They may have new expectations on those kinds of things. And so just having that open, honest conversation, I think, is important. A second thing that'll be really important is how you engage with people when you're at home, how you engage with family and friends in conversation and that kind of thing. Especially now that we've had the election, there's going to be lots of talk around political things. And so if you want to jump in and share a little bit about how to maybe engage on the political level.
Yeah, that was something we talked about that we thought was worth addressing. I think every family situation is going to be different. You know, maybe your family, their political views are exactly the same as yours. But they might not be. Right. And I've heard from a lot of people that are a little bit anxious about going home. And I heard on the radio this morning they were talking about this and said that some families are saying, I'm not going home for Thanksgiving because I know that my, you know, family members support this or voted for this person. And so I think the division that is, you know, broadly in our country right now is affecting our family relationships as well. And so that was something we wanted to just briefly touch on, if that's like an anxiety that you're feeling, or maybe you're not anxious, maybe you're like going home with guns blazing and you're kind of like ready to tell your family,
tell somebody else.
Yeah, you know, what's right. And I read something today that I wanted to share just a little bit with, it's by this woman named Christina Cleveland. I think she works at the Duke Duke Divinity Center for Reconciliation, but she's awesome. Her writing has always challenged me and really helped me. And she wrote a blog post today that was kind of about how to engage when you're going home and sort of having these conversations. And one of the big pieces of advice, she had 8 different points, and I'm not going to read them all, but one of my favorites was just, she said, dig deep into humility, and to just go with this heart of humility, especially if maybe in the time that you've been at college, you feel like you've grown a lot, that you've learned a lot. I think it's easy to come home and feel like you need to educate your family on all this stuff that you've learned. But to remember, they haven't been on the same journey that you've been on, and they haven't taken the same classes and had the same friends and had the same experiences. And so to just have a lot of humility and a lot of patience, and maybe to, in humility, like, share your story and share what you've learned, but to know that they're just in a different place than you are, and that's totally okay. But the best way, if you're set on changing someone's mind, the best way is not to lecture them. No one's mind has ever been changed that way.
Well, maybe.
I don't know. So just to, try and listen to them and hear their perspective, and maybe affirm their perspective. And if you disagree, that's fine, but you don't have to be self-righteous about it, but to just, put on humility as you're going home. I think that's always, even when we're not talking about the election, anything with your family, just put on humility and just try and love them well, even when you disagree with them.
Yeah. I think another part of it, and this is just the way that you engage more broadly, is the people that you're going to be meeting, the family members you're going to be seeing and catching up with, they're going to be genuinely interested in sort of what your life is like now that you've been away at college, or what you're up to now that you're away at college. They haven't seen you in a few months, and so they're genuinely interested in, hey, how's school going? How is work going if you're working? How was that study abroad? And so I would encourage you not to just give short answers, but to really open up and share your life with them. Share some experiences that you've had. Share some things that have been really influential on you. Maybe share some things that were really hard, some things that were bad or challenging. Would really encourage you just to open up and not just give sort of the one word short, yeah, it was great, yeah, I'm having fun. But really, honoring the people that are asking you questions, and ask them questions back, because they're really going to be interested in what you are doing now. So, any other thoughts on engaging with people now that you're home?
I don't think so. Just go eat lots of delicious food. I mean, that's what this is all about. Yeah. Right?
The good food. One other thing I want to throw in there then is another important thing for you to keep in mind as you are home with family and friends is finding a healthy balance between spending time with family and spending time with friends. There's a big temptation for you to get home and to just spend all of your time with your friends and want to catch up with your friends and just see your friends. And so basically you end up kind of spending the night at home, but the rest of the time you're gone. And your family really wants to see you. They want to catch up. They want to hear how you're doing. They've missed you. And so I want to encourage you to try to find that balance between spending time with family and spending time with friends. A big part of that might be scheduling things in advance, setting up special times that you're going to hang out with family. Maybe there's a birthday around Christmas that you want to celebrate, setting that aside. Maybe a special trip, maybe Christmas time, sort of where you're going to travel to and all of those things. But really trying to find that balance between spending time with family and spending time with friends is a big one that I think we should remember. Anything else? I know you mentioned the good food. That's what you're about. Mm-hmm. Spending that time eating the good food. Mm-hmm. It's important. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, my last thing before we wrap things up, my last word of advice is to don't forget everything that you've learned while you've been away in terms of your independence. I think it can be easy for us to return home and to fall into all of our bad habits of not cleaning up after ourselves. Mom will do that, no longer doing our laundry like we've been used to. All of a sudden we can't fix a meal for ourselves. We can't fix our own food. And so I want to encourage you to continue a lot of that independence that you've learned while you've been away at college. Unless they invite you to, hey, let me just do your laundry, let me make food for you, those kind of things. It's a lot better for your relationship if they have to ask you not to do those things than it is for you to just go in and assume that they're going to do all those things for you. You're an adult now, and so that comes with some independence.
That's a really good point. I remember coming home for like holidays and just going into like full on like little kid mode. Like,
I was a slob when I came home.
I just leave my plates in the sink.
Yeah.
And
I still do that when I go home.
That's true.
So don't do that. All right. Well, before we wrap up, does anybody have any questions, anything, any input they want to throw out there and we can answer? Eddie says he loves us.
We love you too, Eddie.
But he also said I look funny. So that's encouraging. Thanks a lot for that, Eddie. We'll talk offline. All right. No questions? No input? All right. Well, this video will stay live. Yes, Eddie. What's your question, Eddie? Eddie Mullins.
Come on, bud.
You said I do. I didn't propose. This is a live broadcast. All right. Well, we will answer your questions offline, Sir Eddie. And anybody else that wants to jump in, should you go home? I don't know. I mean, you are traveling with a fairly newborn, 7 hours. That's going to be a challenging ride. Not going to lie. Benadryl. Okay.
Bad advice. Cutting you off.
All right.
Cutting you off.
All right. Well, the video will stay live or stay online, and so if you want to ask more questions, we'll be glad to engage more offline. And look forward to seeing you guys in future videos. We will see you later.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.